Lloydie, the Pies, where are we?
Well, you start to think about it, Ed, and you're starting to ask a lot of questions. So, can the wheel turn for them, or is it deep-seated than that? And I started to think about, apart from Nick Dacos, who is their best young player? Josh Dacos is very special. They've got a fantastic list, but did they just get it right at the right time of the year? And have they not got another one in them in regards to, I look at Geelong's premiership year and they just were 28 years of age and now they've tried to regenerate, to go again. I look at Collingwood, they were 27 last year. And so they've got 8 players tomorrow night, Damo, who are over the 30-year age bracket.
And I think people forget also, Lloydie, that Collingwood, the season when Bucks got the chop, that was the misnomer that year. I mean, Collingwood had gone 2018 premiership, 2019 preliminary final, were going really well, and then COVID hit, but got through final, won that game against West Coast Eagles, the last game the West Coast Eagles played when they're any good. And then things, whether it was COVID, a lot of teams fell off. Then Craig McRae comes in, the new broom comes through Collingwood, and bang, they find their march and win the flag. Yeah. So they've been
up
going well for a while.
There's lots of little things, I think, which are becoming a big thing. I mean, you've obviously got Murphy out, McStay out. They've played 2 really good football teams, Sydney Swans, GWS. And then we've known now since late December, Ed, at least publicly, that Graham Wright was leaving. Now, he's left 2 weeks ago. And filling his roles has been combined by a lot of people, but particularly Brendon, Bolton and Justin Leppitsch. And it hasn't been smooth. I don't think anyone expected it to be smooth. No one knows how it's going to look. Craig Kelly, the CEO, is now getting more hands-on with the football involvement, more so than he was last year when they won a premiership. It's just these little things building up. And there has been some friction within that footy department. I mean, friction in footy departments can be a healthy and a good thing. And they're actually embracing that side of it as they seek to cover Graham Wright. And as it stands, here we
So where's the friction?
With Leppitsch and Bolton and the new roles they've got, particularly Justin Leppitsch.
So is it only negative friction because they've lost the 2 games?
Yeah, well, that's a...
Or is it negative friction because one wanted more power and didn't get it?
I believe that to be the case, Ed, yeah. Right. But Brendon Bolton's been given most of the responsibilities, or most of the high-end responsibilities that have been vacated by Graham Wright, and how that looks. And equally, Graham Wright is coming back in early September and will come back to the same role from what the club has said.
On that, Ed, can I ask you the question? I made this point on Monday night. If head of football, as good as he may well be, come up to me and said, hey, can I have the year off and I'll be back in September, I'd start looking for a new head of football. What's your view on that?
The only thing is there's not a Melbourne Cup field of them. And I think with Graham Wright, what he needed was that break, and then he wants to come back. If he said, I don't want to do it.
Lloydie, what he did say, he offered his resignation. And Craig Kelly went on record with this yesterday that he and Jeff Brown, the chair of the club, went back to him and said, no, look, you go and have your break. We'll make it long service, but come back. We want you to come back.
And Lloydie, a lot of the good things that happen in football clubs behind the scenes often happen when things aren't going well, and you get whacked for it. You know, if you change your list up and different things, you can get clobbered, and then everyone goes, oh, magically it all worked a couple of years later. So I don't think that's a bad thing. I think he's worth persevering with, but they've got to get it right now. So Craig Kelly's gone in, obviously, to try and stem any
he has, and he's hands-on in meetings. Now, he's saying he's not having a say in selection, but he's overseeing that type of meeting and list management. Jimmy, the talk that got big just before the first game about the over-celebration, or the extensive celebrations time-wise into the new season out of the premiership success, it was driven largely and loudly by someone very well known to this panel who now works at Channel 9 this year on Footy Furnace in Lee Matthews, and the connection that he's got with Craig McRae as a 3-time coach of his 3 premierships, and equally Craig Kelly, who he coached at Collingwood.
And Leppitsch.
And Leppitsch as well. So the club can't fight back like it would if it was just a normal media person.
It's not. It's Lee Matthews.
It's Lee Matthews, and this is what he did say on Footy Furnace.
Well, I guess you go on your own values, and I think sitting through watching that lovely memory of winning a grand final, I'm talking the players, the people inside the white line, not the fans and that kind of thing, that you've got to be able to put it behind sort of last year. It's a lovely memory, but you've got to get yourself into the present, and sitting in the picture theatre watching your 23 grand final, I thought, no, my players wouldn't be doing that if I was coach, for instance.
Well, Damo, you don't disagree with the statue, of course, but it was referencing the point about staying in the moment and what's present currently at the moment. That's the 2024 season. But I'm a bit different. I actually sometimes think that reflecting on when you do things really good is good motivation. And watching a bit of a highlights from a grand final, I don't think that is affecting the way that they're playing their football at the moment.
I think the term premiership hangover is just really naff reporting at times. It can be. I don't think this is, but what does happen, particularly at a big club like Collingwood, where it's such a celebration, or even with the Dogs and things, is the new normal has completely shifted. Now, these guys were hungry.
Yeah.
They were playing for their lives. Now, suddenly, you know, everywhere you go, you have to have a photo taken. You've got to be nice. You're getting offers left, right and centre. Things that might have come naturally last year, extra work. Oh, I've got a gig tonight. Little things you tend to drop. It happens in every business. Great songwriters, showbiz personalities. It is the natural reaction to success. Then you've got to harness that. Now, we're going to show some vision tonight at Glamour on the Grid. And Nick Dacos is the ambassador Josh is the ambassador. And he was there with his beautiful girlfriend. They're both ambassadors for the Grand Prix, turning up tonight. Now, you know, there was a lot made of Jack Ginnivan getting the sack, turning up to the races the night before the grand final. Now, do you want to know my opinion before I get yours? Or no, let me get yours. What do you think, first of all?
I think the trust of Josh Dacos coming off the best and fairest winner, I don't have an issue with him being there at all. Yeah.
I didn't have an issue with Jack Ginnivan going to the races grand final eve, but the club did. They made it public, and it was part of the decision-making to offload him. Would Josh Dacos have accepted the ambassadorial role for the Grand Prix? And maybe he wouldn't have autoed without winning the best and fairest in a premiership year, but would he have done it without having a premiership behind him? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with it, but I'll be keen to see what the club does say about it, given the decisions it made about Jack Ginnivan.
And I believe that Pendles was invited, and I think Darcy Moore was as well, so it'll be interesting to see if they all turned up.
I've got zero issue. His performance stacks up. We've seen that in the last few years. Players have got to have lives. As long as they front up the training, they train hard, they play hard. What they do in their personal time.
If you were still in the chair as president, would you want your player the night before a big game?
No, I would have no issue with what that is because it is a very controlled atmosphere. It's a black tie event. As long as he's home in bed by 9:30, which I'm assuming that's the case. Okay, if I find out he's gone down to King Street afterwards, it'll be a different thing altogether. But he's not. He's there with his girlfriend. He's doing an ambassador role. He's doing that. Ginnivan, don't forget, he had a cocaine charge last year. He's going to the races at Moonee Valley where, you know, on your best day, like if you get out with having a fight in the old days out at the Valley, and you're lining yourself up. And there's a different personality. He should have been tucked up. Yeah. So I have no problem with that. But you know what's going to happen, don't you? Is if Collingwood...
Well, you flagged it. You just put it out there.
That was on the news tonight. I didn't do anything. It was there. But my point is that if the Pies get done tomorrow and he doesn't get a kick, you know what's coming.
It's pretty low-hanging fruit to blame an appearance.
Totally.
There was one point I hadn't had a kick for 4 weeks, and Lisa said to me, I've got a Kylie Minogue concert I'm going to the night before a game. She said, my mum can't come anymore. Can you come? I said, I've got to play a game tomorrow. She said, well, you haven't had a kick for 4 weeks, so why don't you try something different? And so I went to the Kylie Minogue concert. The next day, I kicked 5 and played much, much better. She said, maybe you need to relax a bit more, take your mind off the game. That's all you do. You're thinking about it. Yeah. The game's not for 24 hours.
So would you go to Kylie every week after that?
Yeah, well, I was looking for a concert in Sydney the next week.
Kick 5 spinning around. Hey, now, I've got to ask you, you won a Norm Smith medal and a premiership. What was your lead up into that game after the grand final parade? Have I just dropped you in this?
Yeah, you have, but obviously the grand final parade, a lot of players either chose to stay down in Geelong or in Melbourne. Our hotel was over the road from Crown Casino, which is a great sponsor here at Nine, and a few of us went over to have a bit of lunch and thought, well, we might just drift into the tables a little bit and played a little bit of blackjack for a while before the game.
So you won a premiership, a Norm Smith medal. They say things come in threes.
I had more tokens in my pocket before I went in.
That's what we want to know.